So, welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast, Gatsby. It's great to have you on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Gatsby, tell us a little bit about you and how did you get started on your TV app?
Yeah, no problem at all. So I'm originally from the East Coast in the United States, the Washington, D.C. area to be more specific. I'm also spent a lot of time in Texas, love Texas too. So I would say I'm a native son of both, but yeah, that's kind of like my take on it. Then in terms of kind of where I've gone to school education, I have actually always been in engineering, but my formal education is actually in economics. I did my undergraduate degree at Coastal Carolina University in South Carolina and graduate degrees at both UC Berkeley and Stanford University in engineering. And yeah, work-wise, I worked at Apple, Google, and Microsoft, mostly in engineering roles, a little bit of product roles. And because I was in technology, I was really interested in solving technology problems at work. But what I'd come to find is that in my personal life, I had a problem which I sort of felt could be solved with technology, which is I would come home after a long day of work, be hanging out with my partner at the time, and her and I would be looking for things to watch on TV. And we'd always kind of have this like thing between us where I'd want to watch something and she'd want to watch something else. And it kind of turned into this like mini fight, I felt like at times. And I was like kind of tired of having this on a daily or almost daily basis. And so I said to myself, I spend my entire day working with technology, building technology, explaining technology, and evangelizing technology. And the reason why is because we see that a lot of our customers at the jobs I was working had a lot of problems that could be solved with technology. And here I am, someone with a problem that could potentially be solved with technology, and I didn't have a solution for it. So basically, sat down, started putting the idea together on paper, then doing a little bit of programming work. And then after a while, built a solution which would help me find TV shows and movies easier.
So, you're telling me that the driving force that led you in creating this app is because of the fight with you and your girlfriend trying to figure out, your partner trying to figure out what you guys are going to watch.
Yeah, because I think for me, a lot of times with a lot of people, and maybe this is just like part of my personality, but I just can't let things go. And because I can't let things go, even things that are inconsequential for most people or not that big of a deal, I sort of say to myself, no, like there has to be a solution for this. And so for me, it was a small problem, then it was a nagging problem, then became a medium problem, then become a large problem. And because of that, I said, okay, yeah, let me see if there's a way I could solve this. Unfortunately, the relationship is no longer existing. So it didn't come in time to save the relationship, but it is a solution that exists today, and we've got thousands of people using it and they're enjoying it. So at least it's helping improve some other people's lives.
So break the app down a little bit. What is it exactly? Is it like an app is it like an app like Apple TV? Is it an app like Netflix? What exactly is it?
Yeah, so what Gatsby TV is it is an aggregator of all of the streaming video on demand applications in one place. So the easiest way to sort of think of it is that it's actually very similar to what Apple TV does in terms of aggregating a lot of different things in one place. But the sort of spin we have on it is one, it's a mobile first application. So you can get it from either the iOS App Store or you can get it from the Google Play Store, download it on your phone. And when you download it, what you're going to be greeted by is this beautiful interface that has all these various networks, whether it be HBO Max, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, Netflix, etc. And one of the big problems that I was trying to solve is basically search and discovery within these platforms. Because whenever I would search on either google.com or Apple TV or elsewhere, I was kind of getting results, but not quite the results I wanted because these networks, they don't necessarily have any sort of context as to what I currently actually subscribe to. Then a lot of times, and this is where a lot of people um, seem to not know this, is the fact that they believe that search is objective. But Google and Apple are very opinionated companies, right? They have certain rivalries, competition with other companies. And so because of this, and what's kind of interesting is because of this, what they do at times, unbeknownst to the user, is they may remove certain results. right? And if you really look at what's going on when you search Apple TV or on Google.com, is you'll be searching for something and then it'll say something like, oh yeah, it's available here, but don't you want to buy it in the iTunes store or something like that? Right? And because they have that profit motive, not saying profit motive is bad. Like I said, my undergraduate education was actually in economics. I think profit motive is great. But when it comes to going to someone who may actually have some sort of stake in a financial stake in what decision you're about to make, and you asking for them for advice, be careful what you get from them, right? It's like going to a financial advisor at Wells Fargo and saying like, hey, where should I open a bank account? Now, the truth is yeah, they'll tell you about the others, but you do know in the back of your mind, like they're doing things, even if it's unbeknownst to me, to try and get me to open it at Wells Fargo. And what I'm saying with that interaction is that you generally get that when you're in an interaction like that with a Wells Fargo banker. But for whatever reason, when we use technology, we tend not to actually think, okay, Apple's trying to get me to do this or Google's trying to get me to do that. And because of that, what it's led to is a very bad experience for users when it comes to searching for content. And so, giving you an example of this, sometimes I'll search for something and then it'll say, okay, only available in the Google Play Store or Apple TV Plus or whatever it may be, or at iTunes. And then I would feel like a few weeks later, maybe a month later or so, I'm on HBO Max or somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. This platform actually has this as part of my subscription. Why did I rent it from, Amazon or Apple or whatever? And that was extremely frustrating because they don't allow you to return the stuff after, right? It's not like a t-shirt where you're like, oh, I found a cheaper price elsewhere. So yeah, that was really bothersome to me. So within the app, when you search for a specific title, it'll tell you all the places you can find it for free, subscription, buy it, where you can rent it. It'll also show you all the various ratings on Rotten Tomato, IMDB, Metacritic, etc. And then the big piece of it, and again, this is sort of the discovery piece, is it'll also show you which of your friends have watched a TV show or movie in the past. And these friends can actually send a TV show or movie as a recommendation to you. And that recommendation piece is massive in terms of discovery.
So your friends would have to have that same app in order to send this to you.
Yeah, and we think for us that's sort of like the secret sauce because what we're doing and what I think the internet, a lot of these big companies do in general is like, let's use a few examples. It's like, in the past you used to go to church or maybe you go to a bar and now you get on Tinder and then you just find people, right? So it's like taking this like in-person experience and putting it online. Same goes with shopping. Before on a Saturday or Sunday, you would go into the mall and you'd pass all your various stores, Express, even though I think they're going into bankruptcy now. So who knows if they'll exist in future malls. But Express, Abercrombie, Foot Locker, whatever. And then you do this in-person experience. And then, something like Amazon comes out and now you just, buy it all on the internet. And so, using this example, the thing we're doing, and one of the things I noticed in terms of search and discovery, is how people generally tend to find TV shows and movies is you're in person at the water cooler, or maybe you're having lunch with someone, and just in conversation, at least nowadays, I think generally you talk, how are you doing? How's the job? How's the family? And one thing that tends to come up is, I'm watching this on TV, or I saw this movie, and this is like generally now a part of the conversation in the offline world. So what I've come to find out is, how people actually tend to find TV shows and movies isn't actually from the Netflix top 10. How they find TV shows and movies is they're having a conversation with another human being, generally in person, if not at least on the phone via text or phone.
Mhm.
And they'll say, hey, I'm watching this thing. You should check it out. And then what ends up happening is that hours later, days later, whatever it may be, you end up on Apple TV, you end up on Netflix, you're scrolling through and you're like, oh yeah, my cousin told me about that, or my friend told me about that, whatever it may be. And these are just acting as reminders. So my insight was, oh, what we need to do is figure out a way to get this offline conversation online. And the best way we can do it is by having an app that aggregates all these TV shows and movies. So in the future, when you're sitting at that lunch, someone says, hey, it's this great show I've seen. It's Bridgerton. You should check it out. This person can send you the recommendation in the app. And then the next time you sit down to watch TV, you open up the app on your cell phone. You say, what has been recommended to me by my friends? And like, oh, yeah. My best friend was telling me about Bridgerton. You click on it. You see all the ratings, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDB, etc. You can see, okay, it's available on Netflix. and then you can go ahead and you can watch the TV show or movie. And that's essentially what we envision the future to be.
So why would somebody want to get your app compared to other apps out there? Because I know when you do watch Netflix and you do watch Apple TV, they do recommend like similar shows. Like they would tell you that, you know, if you watch this show, they would recommend something else. So why would people tend to kind of gravitate more towards your app?
Yeah, so there's a big thing out there that's very interesting to me. There's over 500,000 TV shows and movies in the English speaking world, but
Mhm,
yet people seem to feel like there's nothing to watch, right? And what's crazy about that is if you were to watch a new TV show or movie for your entire life every single day, you would only get through maybe 4% of all the TV shows and movies ever made. So it's like, how is there never anything to watch? And the reason why there's nothing to watch, it isn't because of the volume, but it's because of the recommendations. And kind of going back to what I said before, all these networks have profit motive. So what they'll say is, okay, we saw you watch this horror movie. Let's use that as a great example, right?
mhm,
So you watch one horror movie. Maybe it's around October, late October. People tend to watch horror movies around that time. And
mhm.
then they'll say, hey, we think you'll like this other horror movie, but it's also a Netflix original. You know, it always tends to be another Netflix original for some reason. I don't know why, but it always tends to be a Netflix original. And part of the reason why is because they have very high margins for the things that are Netflix originals versus something they bought from another network. So that's a really big problem because they're not necessarily giving you what's best for you. They're giving you what's best for them and hoping you like it. Then the second piece of it, and again, why people tend to not find something to watch is to your very point. Okay, they're looking at, certain shows I like or I've watched in the past, and they say I have a high propensity to like these things. But again, kind of going back to like the internet not being objective, the thing that people I think don't realize is that these things aren't helping you find things. They're now shaping what you watch. They're
Mhm.
they're they're actually the ones choosing. You're not choosing. And just because I watched one horror movie, or maybe even two, doesn't mean I want to watch horror movies for the rest of my life. Because that's what it'll keep on doing. It'll just keep recommending you stuff that you've been, watching. So, what this friend or family member recommendation does, and again, this is how the real world works, is it allows you to get something completely different, right? But the thing is, your sister, your brother-in-law, your friend, they know you much better than any algorithm will ever know you. Because again, the algorithm only knows the input that you can put into a computer. It knows nothing about your background. It knows nothing about what you've done outside of that platform, etc. So maybe your best friend knows, like, hey, my friend generally doesn't watch X, but because me, the friend who's been with her for 30 years or whatever, knows every now and then she likes a crazy sci-fi fic, or maybe, we're talking about this athlete or whatever, and he's got some show on. Like, I think if I recommend it, she'll at least watch it. She may not like it, but she'll at least watch it. And so what this does, and what's missing in today's world, is it then starts to give us all sorts of basically new TV shows and movies to watch, right? We have like more diversity in terms of the things we watch. So you don't watch horror movie after horror movie. Maybe you watch horror movie, documentary, a comedy. And then the other thing too is it then sets things in context, because maybe something is cool and something you're interested in because again you had a conversation with your friend about a specific athlete or a specific actor, whatever it may be. The computer doesn't know that, and so this is why someone would go with this platform versus some of the others. And then at the end of the day, this platform has all the other stuff too, right? So you can search and you can find the stuff that you always want. If that's what you want to do, there's no problem with doing that, because essentially when you come into our platform, and maybe this is the other part, and our platform is in Gatsby TV, is when you click on a TV show or movie, we'll actually send you to that TV show or movie. So it'll automatically open it up and it'll start playing for you on Netflix, or we'll send you to HBO Max to automatically start playing for you, all those things. So yeah.
Wow. So, where can the listeners get your app and start watching the shows? How can they get in touch with you? And do you have any resources to help someone who wants to kind of build an app and kind of go the same route as you?
Yeah, so in terms of trying to reach us, the easiest way to reach us is to go into the Apple App Store to Google Play Store, type in Gatsby TV. That's Gatsby. So Gatsby, like the Great Gatsby, and then TV, and then we'll be one of the first hits on there. We're the TV guide app, essentially. When you go in, you just have to register. And the thing to keep in mind for your listeners is we're not giving away free TV. I mean, I wish we could, but we cannot. So you're gonna have to have the underlying subscriptions in Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, etc. But the search will still work. So as soon as you search for something, hey, I want to watch Casino Royale, again, it'll show you all the various ratings. It'll show you where you can watch it for free, where you can buy it, etc. For over 500,000 TV shows or movies. When you click on Casino Royale and you say, okay, I clicked on the Paramount Plus where to watch it, it'll open up Paramount Plus on your cell phone, and then you can watch it. The thing that we're working on right now is we're working on an Apple TV version of the app. So you can do essentially what I just talked about, but on Apple TV, because we know, most people actually don't watch stuff on their phone. They watch it on the TV. So it's very important that it gets on TV. But if you're not watching your phone, again, it still gives you the recommendation feature to your friends and family members. It still gives you the feature of universal search and discovery to see what platforms at least people can watch the show on. If you want to contact me personally, it's just Gatsby at Gatsby.tv. Please no spam or anything, but that's the easiest way to reach me. And then if someone were interested in getting in the industry or interested in programming or coding, I would say the best thing to do is just get started. And it's, and it sounds simple, but honestly, it's just the best advice is like, they say it's like the step of 1,000 feet starts with the first step, so kind of something like that, right? I'm sure someone has said it far more eloquently than I just did. But I think going to resources like Code Academy is a great one, leetcode.com, etc. You don't have to pay for all these expensive, fancy degrees from Berkeley and Stanford, et cetera. You don't have to do all that. You can pay $12.99 and get on Code Academy and, per month. And I think they actually have a free version, so it's even cheaper. You can start with a free version, start coding. And if anything, the thing that I will tell people is you don't have to expect to become a entrepreneur that ends up, starting a company like I did or aspiring to go to some of the universities I have. You can just say to yourself, I want to know this because I want to better, one, understand how to problem solve with a computer, which I think almost every student in America, don't even get me started on education, but there are a few classes missing in the American education system, which is a personal finance class. I don't know how schools get away with not teaching people, credit cards and all those things. And the second one is there need to be more programming classes. I don't know how many times I learned about World War II in school, but it was far too many. I get it. The Europeans were fighting. The US got in a war. It ended. There's an atomic bomb. Okay, cool. We got all the highlights. I think what's more pragmatic is teaching students, at least if you're not going to be a super coder, at least how to get started with coding, because these are the skills, especially with AI now becoming more prevalent, et cetera, that people are going to need. So within our school system and within our country, let's stop outsourcing everything to China. Let's go ahead and upskill the people we have here. Because if you've been to many US cities, and sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, and I am being recorded, but I'm doing this purposely. If you go to many US cities, whether it be my home city of Washington, D.C., or where I live now in San Francisco, you see Americans or countrymen or countrywomen living on the streets, which is crazy to me, in, the richest country on earth. And so what I say is like, a part of this is an education problem of both those who are living on the streets and those who are not. And how can we upskill ourselves so that we can better help ourselves and have a better country and have the country live up to its promise.
Wow, that's like a different podcast show.
Yeah.
What you just talked about. So with your app, do you have to have the other apps? Like, do you have to have Netflix and Apple TV and HBO in order to get your app?
No, you don't at all. So basically, if you have none of these on your phone or you don't pay for any of them, when you come into our app and you register and you
Mhm,
type in a title, The Dark Knight, which is one of the Batman movies, you
mhm.
just type that in and it'll show you. It'll just say, okay, it's available on HBO Max via subscription. It's available via iTunes if you buy it. It'll at least tell you where shows are, which
Okay.
is something that is very important to people because, yeah, maybe you don't have a subscription, but
Mhm.
maybe if you start seeing a few shows that you seem to be interested in, are always on, Paramount Plus or something, then it gives you, this sort of thought in my head that, yeah, maybe that, free month subscription for $12.99, maybe I should try it out because it seems that, stuff that I tend to watch is on this network. And then ultimately, hopefully, you'll buy it if that network is bringing you value. So, long story short, no need to have any of these subscriptions. The only reason why you need it is if you then decide to make the decision to watch the show, we
Mhm.
send you to that platform, whether it be HBO Max, Paramount Plus, and NBC, whatever it may be, and they're gonna basically say like, where my dollar's at. So yeah.
Mhm. So Gatsby, do you have any last words for the listeners and not giving up on their dreams?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, in terms of me and my background, I think like a lot of people, a lot of Black Americans, Latino Americans, minorities in general, Asian, etc., and white people, to be quite honest. I come from a single parent household. I wasn't in one of these situations where my mom was always on me about school and all these things, but I had a lot of self-discipline. I was actually listening to Nick Saban, he's the former coach of Alabama football, this morning, a video from him, and I think he said a lot of great things, but what he talks about is basically having discipline. The question was, how is it that Alabama seems to be in a national championship almost every year?
Yeah.
And I think what's harder than in some ways getting to the top is remaining at the top. And this is essentially what he's talking about is like, it's the reason why we could blow out a team 52-10, and the reason why I'm still upset and whatnot is because I want you to give your all. I want you to do your all on each and every single play, because that's discipline and that's putting in your all, and that's essentially how you achieve success. Successful people don't work really hard and stop working really hard for a little bit. Like they're just always working really hard. Like it's as simple as that, right? Like just always be working really hard. And I think for a lot of people sometimes, and a big thing for me is not only being proud of myself and making sure that I have wealth and something to give for myself, but also the people around me. And I think there are a lot of people out there that say, hey, I want, more weekends or more free time, etc. Sometimes I just say, like, you're not going to have that, because, when you become a parent, when you're a brother, when you're a brother-in-law, whatever it may be, sometimes there are people who really depend on you. And so you have to be selfless rather than selfish. And when you're doing these things and you're giving your all and you're being disciplined, it's not just for you, but it's for the people around you, so that hopefully you can up level them. And I talked about this nation living up to the dream that it once was, or the dream that it's supposed to be. Sometimes people need someone who's maybe on a higher level to like bring them up, and sometimes in your own family, in your community, you could be either of those people. But one thing I think we can all agree on is that whenever those people who are in high places bring people up, everyone enjoys that. They cheer on the person who's coming up and they cheer on the person who's doing the bringing up. And so, yeah, all I'd say is stay disciplined and work hard every day. And I think we can all achieve that as a community.
Well, thank you, Gatsby, for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Yeah, no problem at all. It was a pleasure.